The weather is about to get crazy as a brutal heat wave is slamming the United States, bringing temperatures up into the 80s and potentially even into the 90s, bringing multiple storm systems that move into the United States, bringing a potential for tornadoes, damaging winds, and even some large to very large hail. In today's video, we'll be breaking down what you need to know about the severe weather potential over the next few days, so let's jump right into the forecast. It is Thursday, July 2nd, 2026, and you can see this is our severe weather outlook for today. We do have a marginal risk, which is a level 1 out of 5, going from the northeast all the way up into the northern plains. We could see a few isolated severe storms in those areas, and we could also see a few isolated severe storms in the Ohio Valley. We do got a slight risk out here from parts of Tennessee down into northern Georgia, and we do got a slight risk going from western Michigan up into parts of North Dakota there. Then you can see that we do have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk out here going from northwestern Iowa into southeastern North Dakota. We do have a threat for a potential for a isolated tornado or two within this 2% tornado risk from western North Dakota down into southwestern Wisconsin. So if you're inside of this tornado risk, you need to be prepared for maybe an isolated tornado or two, but our main concern is going to be some damaging winds out here. We do have a 30% wind risk in Nashville, Tennessee, down in northern Alabama. We got to be watching closely for damaging winds down there. We also got a 30% wind risk over here in parts of the northern plains. That's also marked with those dashed lines, which is a wind conditional Tennessee Group 1 risk, which means 75 mile per hour plus winds are possible. If we get storms form out here in western Kansas, then we could also see 75 mile per hour plus winds, and that area has been getting slammed by severe weather for the past few days, so be aware for more severe weather out there. Also looking at a chance for some large to very large hail, mainly within inside of this highlight area today, in that 15% wind risk and inside of that those dashed lines, which is a hail conditional Tennessee Group 1 risk. We'll be seeing hail up to hen egg size potentially today out here, so definitely you guys want to be making sure to be staying prepared for that. If we go ahead and look at tomorrow's severe weather threat, we are expecting potential severe weather tomorrow on Friday within these highlighted areas, going all the way from the northern plains into the mid-Atlantic. So we got to be watching tomorrow on Friday. We do have a slight risk going from northern Indiana up into South Dakota. That's going to be an area to watch. The closest for severe weather tomorrow also over here in the mid-Atlantic, inside those yellow highlighted areas. So if you're out in those areas, you guys definitely want to be making sure to stay prepared tomorrow for severe weather. The tornado risk tomorrow is going to be relatively low, but we could see an isolated tornado going from western Iowa up into South Dakota. We do also have a potential for some damaging winds tomorrow within these highlighted areas, as you can see right here. So definitely if you're in those areas, you need to be prepared for damaging winds. Cannot rule out 75 mile per hour plus winds within inside of this wind conditional Tennessee Group 1 risk. So definitely strap down unscared objects so they don't fly away. Also could see large to very large hail within that hail conditional Tennessee Group 1 risk. So definitely make sure to be staying prepared if you're out there tomorrow on Friday. And then on 4th of July, we are expecting potential severe weather all the way from the mid-Atlantic into parts of the northern plains. So the 4th of July, if you're out in these areas, you guys definitely want to be staying prepared for severe weather. So anybody that's going out on the holiday like weekend, if you're going to like any outdoor restaurants, or if you're doing any outdoor plans or anything like that, you guys definitely want to think about rescheduling them on the 4th of July, especially if you're in these highlighted areas. Our main concern is going to be out here in the mid-Atlantic on 4th of July, where we do have a potential for some damaging winds, hail, and maybe an isolated tornado. It doesn't stop there. On July 5th, another severe weather threat is expected out here in the mid-Atlantic and parts of Virginia up into southeastern Pennsylvania. So this area will probably grow a little bit more, so definitely be prepared for this as well on Sunday and everything like that, as we do have a potential for even more severe weather. Let's go ahead and switch over to the future radar for today. If we go ahead and push up the future radar, we are expected to see a potential for a few storms to form out here in northern Iowa. This is mainly going to be hail producers and maybe some damaging wind producers, so we'll watch those storms very closely that pop up out there in northern Iowa. I don't think there'll be anything too crazy. We also are going to be expecting some more storms to develop today. Out here in parts of the northern plains. These could produce some damaging winds, hail, and maybe an isolated tornado. Also going to expect these storms out here in the Midwest to continue. If we go ahead and push up the future radar even more, we are expected to see a few storms out here in western Kansas pop up and produce some damaging winds, mainly, and maybe some hail. So we're going to have to watch those very closely. So that's kind of what to be expecting today. If you're out there in Rapid City, be prepared for a few storms, maybe around 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it is looking like a pretty significant severe weather day. The main concern is going to be within this highlight area, as that's where our enhanced risk is going to be placed over. So that's going to be the main concern. Damaging winds today, so definitely be prepared out there. We're going to route them expanding that enhanced risk out into the Midwest for kind of those line of storms. So we'll have to watch this very closely. If you're out there in Milwaukee, I think the storms will probably get there like around 2 a.m. Eastern tomorrow on Friday. So definitely some overnight storms there. So Milwaukee definitely want to be having a way to get alerts while you're sleeping tonight, as they could be pretty severe out there. And we do got plenty of storm fuel out here, guys, for these storms. So this is also going to be something to keep an eye on. We got plenty of storm fuel out here, getting up to around 3,000 joules per kilogram mainly. So 2,000, 3,000 joules per kilogram. So we do got plenty of storm fuel to make these storms form. So definitely, you guys definitely want to be prepared for these storms to form out here. Sioux Falls getting up to around 2,000 joules per kilogram. So that's pretty crazy there. So that's plenty of storm fuel. The main area I'm watching for tornadoes is going to be within this corridor right here. I do think a few tornadoes will be a possibility in this area today, as that's kind of where we're going to have most of that spin. I wouldn't rule out a brief spin up out here in western Kansas though today with those storms, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But you can see we got plenty of spin out here in the atmosphere today, so if we get a sustained storm to really just get its act together, then I do think a brief spin up tornado is going to be a potential. I don't think a strong tornado is going to be too big of a concern today, but we'll keep an eye on it. If tornado parameter values are nothing too crazy out here for these storms, so yeah, we do get some out here in parts of Iowa, but those storms aren't really expected to be too tornadic, but we'll keep an eye on those. So we're not really expecting a big chance for strong tornadoes today, as you can see here, but you can see within this corridor is there. I'm watching like kind of the closest for the potential for a few tornadoes. So yeah, the significant tornado parameter values are definitely there, but they don't seem like it's like too high in levels out there. But in parts of Iowa, getting up to like around level 3, so nothing too crazy. Now, as we get into tomorrow on Friday, we are expecting even more severe weather. As you can see right here, we're going to have quite a lot of storms in the United States tomorrow, ranging all the way from the northern plains all the way down there into the mid-Atlantic in the Ohio Valley, even in parts of the Northeast. So very crazy severe weather setup tomorrow. A lot of storms are going to be a potential out there, so you guys definitely want to be prepared for some of those storms, especially out here. I think this is kind of where we're going to have most of those storms. We're going to have a lot of scattered storms out here in the Ohio Valley all the way up into the mid-Atlantic. We're also going to have some storms out here in the northern plains that could be producing some damaging winds and hail, and also be in between those areas. That main tornado risk tomorrow will set up out there within these highlighted areas, so we do have potential for maybe a few tornadoes inside of those highlighted areas tomorrow, inside of that circle there. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at tomorrow with the future radar. So Minneapolis, Chicago, Columbus, New York, over there towards Boston, you guys all want to be watching these storms very closely tomorrow, as we do have a potential for some pretty strong storms out there. And let's go ahead and check out some of the ingredients that we have. Now, we do have plenty of storm fuel tomorrow as well. So if we get like those storms form out here in the Ohio Valley, these could be pretty severe. So we're going to have to watch those very closely, as they have access to plenty of storm fuel out there. So it's going to be something to keep an eye on. We could get up to around like 5,000, close to 6,000 joules per kilogram potentially. So you got plenty of storm fuel out there tomorrow within these areas. So if we get storm really sustain themselves, they can produce a tornado, as well as some very strong winds and some pretty large hail tomorrow. So we're going to have to watch that very closely, as we got plenty of that convective available potential energy. So we do have plenty of energy for these storms out here. This is typical for June and stuff, but it's just crazy. If we get any storms really sustain themselves once again, they could be very severe. The 4th of July, even more severe weather is expected across parts of the United States out here. See, out here in parts of the Ohio Valley, we could be seeing a few severe storms on the 4th of July. So if you're out there, you guys definitely want to be prepared for a few severe storms on 4th of July. And out there in the mid-Atlantic and to parts of the Northeast, you could also see a few damaging storms out there. And I wouldn't even rule out a few damaging storms out here in the northern plains, where we don't have a risk outline for those areas, but I wouldn't rule out a risk being outlined, as they could be pretty severe. Then out here in the plains, could also see a few severe storms on 4th of July. So looking like a pretty big severe weather day on 4th of July. So I wouldn't rule out them actually expanding this slight risk a little bit farther west to kind of include these areas as well, as I do think that we could be seeing quite a few storms out there on 4th of July. So Columbus, I'm really watching Columbus, New York, and Washington for the bigger severe weather potential on the 4th of July. So we are expected a few severe storms out there. Even in Chicago on 4th of July could be seeing a few severe storms. So so definitely be prepared for that. You can see here that we have a very severe heat wave hitting the United States. As you can see right here, it's a pretty brutal heat wave out there in the United States. The eastern half and parts of the plains, that's where you guys are going to feel the main heat, as it is looking like it's going to be very hot out there. So you guys definitely want to be staying hydrated if you're out there in the United States over the next few days, especially in the plains and Ohio Valley, as it's going to get pretty hot, especially out here in parts of North Carolina and Virginia. You could be seeing temperatures out here in Virginia down to South Carolina getting up to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, even over the parts of New York. So this is going to be a very brutal heat wave out here, guys. So even if you have those pets, you guys definitely want to be making sure to keep your pets hydrated. Make sure you are hydrated as well, as it's going to be very, very warm out there for a lot of you guys, as we do have a brutal heat wave, and it doesn't seem to be ending here anytime soon. So yeah, it's going to be very hot out there. So as you can see here, we're having a pretty crazy severe storm system coming into the United States. This should lead to some severe weather, mainly out there in parts of the plains, but that storm system is also expected to bring severe weather into parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast. So we're going to have to watch that very closely here. We're going to have some of these crazy storm system make its way through. I'm watching a storm system on around July 6th and 7th. We could be seeing some severe weather out there in parts of the Ohio Valley over there towards the Northeast. So it is looking like a pretty active weather pattern, though we are going to be seeing like the main severe storm systems. Those are mainly going to be out there in Canada. But you can see that we are still going to have some of those unpredictable, smaller, and more localized severe weather events in parts of the United States still take place as we get into parts of July. And that's all I got for you in today's video. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe. Definitely make sure to be staying weather aware over the next few days. Stay hydrated if you're in that heat wave. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.